Hello van fans, welcome to another episode of VFFs Vanlife podcast. How are you? I hope you're well. I hope you had a nice Easter. I managed to only eat one Easter egg the whole of Easter, which is the biggest achievement of my life. I'm currently parked on top of a massive hill and it's really windy. The van is rocking back and forth, but it's not too bad. I am now a resident of Cornwall. I've moved to Cornwall. So I've been making the most of it, especially at the moment there's no tourists, so it's really special. So one of my favourite things about van life is how spontaneous it is. So for example, a few days ago I was lying in bed and I was feeling a bit bored and I was kind of like, oh my god. I checked the weather and I realised that the next day was going to be beautiful, so I thought I'm going to go on a trip tomorrow. And what I really like to do is I never really plan anything with the van. I just kind of go, right, I'm going to leave tomorrow morning and just go where I feel like. So that's what I did. I went on an amazing trip for the whole weekend. I'm recording this on Easter Monday, so we've just had this beautiful weather. Firstly, I drove to Bude and I met a friend there outdoors and we went swimming in the Bude sea pool. If you've never been to Bude, on the beach there is this massive concrete swimming pool and it's a tidal pool, so when the tide comes in it puts a load of seawater in, and when the tide goes out it's there and you can swim in it. The friend I met as well also has a campervan. I've just been really enjoying just like both of us having our vans and just like driving around, especially as he has a wood burner in his van, and after swimming getting into that van is like, oh my goodness, it's so nice. And then I just had a look at the map and I saw a little point that I'd not been to before, so I thought, okay, I'll go there. It's kind of close to Polzeath. Beautiful driving. It was a National Trust car park that I parked in. The view was like right over the sea, so I stayed there all day. I went for a really amazing cliff walk. It was so beautiful. It was just so amazing to just do whatever I felt like in the moment. It's so great as well, like when you've got a van and you've got like a really nice bed in the back, you don't have to go anywhere. You just go back to the van and just plonk yourself down and just chill out. Like, it's so good. And then I drove home to my house. You know, I've lived in this area like almost my whole life, but I've never taken this particular road, and it was one of the most beautiful drives I've ever done. It was B roads coming from Launceston towards the Tamar Valley, and it was absolutely breathtaking. It was so magic. And then after that I met a friend again for a swim outside and we went to the forest. I'm just so happy right now. I've been to the beach, I've been to the forest, and now I'm on this big massive hill which has got like a 360 degree view of Devon and Cornwall. So yeah, I've just had such a wonderful time. So we are coming to the last few episodes of this season of VFFs. If you have any opinions or suggestions, what you liked about the podcast, what you didn't like about the podcast, please do get in touch. So you can write to me at vffspodcast@gmail.com. That's vffspodcast@gmail.com. Any ideas, things that you'd like to hear for the future, that kind of thing. So we've got a couple more episodes and then I'm going to do like a best of, and then after that there'll be a break and I'll be back in early September. So yeah, please do get in touch and let me know your opinion. So this week's guest is Georgie. After her living situation became less than ideal, Georgie decided to take the plunge and move full-time into her tiny Diahatsu campervan. She finally found the freedom and space to breathe, which led her to face some of her mental health demons. This started her on a beautiful journey towards self-acceptance, honesty, and the courage to share her struggles with others. She now runs How Do You Peel, an online community focused on empowering women to share their own stories and know that they are not alone. Georgie is such a warm-hearted and wonderful person. She's so inspiring, and it really was lovely to speak to her. And I would highly recommend that you check out the How Do You Peel Instagram if you just want to put a smile on your face, because it is really lovely. So without further ado, here is the interview with Georgie. Georgie, welcome to VFFs. Thank you so much for coming on.
I was so happy when you invited me to do the podcast.
Oh my goodness, of course. I mean, firstly, you basically had the same van as me, so of course I'm gonna definitely want to talk to you about that. But no, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm so happy that you've come on and we're gonna have a great chat. So let's start with a bit of van chat. So what is the make and model of your van?
My van is a Diahatsu X-Stol 2005. It's pretty rare, actually. It's very tall and skinny. Well, not tall. You can't stand up in it. It's a micro van, but yeah, it's great for me. Works well. The engines are under the seat, so the front of the van it just kind of stops at the end of the windscreen and goes down. Makes parking very easy, but yeah, that's my van.
Yeah, so the Daihatsu X-Tol, that's really similar to some of the other little micro campers like the Suzuki Carry, which is what I had, and the Hijet and the Piaggio Porter, I think it's called. And what's your setup? What have you got in the back there?
So in the back of the van, originally in the load area, it had just behind the seats, it had a bit of a stainless kind of floor that was bolted in, and you could place stuff underneath that. But it was only, I don't know, maybe 15 centimeters worth of space. So that was great space gained when I removed that. And then so I've got two little benches with my leisure battery behind the seats, and then I've got a sofa that pulls out with slats onto a bed, and a lovely unit on the side that's got my kitchen in it and spice rack and a pull out kitchen that I can use when it's raining outside. I can cook inside, and then when it's lovely and sunny, I can pull the kitchen out the back of the van and cook outside, which I love. I've also got a really nice makeshift bookshelf that I made out of an old shoe rack. It looks a bit like a botch job, but I love it. It brings character, and it's painted yellow, so it makes me happy when I putting things on it and doing stuff. So
Brilliant. And I'm just trying to remember, do you have a sink in your van? Or
yeah, so I basically did my water tank it's just a 5 litre water tank that you just attach one of those little taps to the nozzle, and I just keep it stored on its side, and I take the bowl. It's just a lovely ceramic bowl from IKEA, and I lift that, put it underneath the tap when I want to fill it up, and I do it like that because I didn't really have enough space to do any kind of like a pump. I would have maybe done a foot pump for my water, but I didn't really need it to do that. So that's how I do my sink, and like any washing up, I just fill up the bowl that's got a little place for it to sit in on the countertop.
did you do the conversion yourself?
I did the whole conversion myself. Well, my boyfriend helped me a lot because I broke my maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks into the conversion, I broke my elbow mountain biking.
Oh no.
So I did a lot of I ripped everything out. I really got stuck in, and it was very much prepared for my boyfriend to help me. I just gave him the instructions. I'd got all the wood already and everything for building units, and I said cut here, cut there, put that together that way. He's perfect for him because he's a furniture installer by trade. He does that as his job. So I just kind of gave him those instructions, and he took them very well and put my design and everything brought it to life for me.
Brilliant. Yeah, that sounds quite similar to my design journey as well. I kind of designed my van and then told my boyfriend where to put everything, basically. Yeah, so that sounds quite familiar. Have you ever done anything like that before, or was it your first time building something like that?
I have been brought up as doing a lot of building and woodwork. There's a hilarious photo of me probably when I was, I don't know, 4 years old in my granddad's workshop, naked but with jelly shoes on at the sanding belt, like building something with woodwork. So I've been doing a lot of that myself and for quite a long time. And I did industrial design at university, so I was always working in workshops and things like that, but I've never converted a van. I did convert a space on a boat because I grew up living on a boat. I converted my bedroom into a whole, I redid the whole thing myself and rebuilt that. So that was my kind of first introduction into tiny space design, I guess.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So what's industrial design? What sort of thing do you learn when you do that degree?
It's product design essentially, but you're doing the functionality, the aesthetic of it. At my university, there was a Bachelor of Arts, which was the industrial design side, which was the aesthetics, the function of the product, the way that the user would interact with it, that sort of that side of things. And then the Bachelor of Science, which they called product design, which more people would know of industrial design. You would normally probably call it product design. That side of things was like the internal workings of it, so the electronics and the mechanics of the product. So I did the more like making it look beautiful and making sure that people like to use it side of things.
Wow, that sounds like some really good, like, transferable skills for designing a van, especially one as small as your van. So you actually moved into your van full time in May 2019. So what was it like for you to transition into living into such a small space? How did it compare with living in your previous, I think you were in a shared house before that weren't you?
Yeah, I was in a 6-person shared house in living in Plymouth, and I originally moved into that house. Everything was amazing. I had a great housemates, and then pretty much all my housemates who I made great friends with all moved out, and then a bunch of random people moved in, and it wasn't so great after that. So living in that house was becoming really, really difficult for me. And because I've lived on a boat in a small space, like I've lived on a sailing boat with both my mum and dad in quite a small space, obviously not as small as a micro van, but I've also been on long 50-day canoe trips camping in a tent with 6 other people. So you're like really tight up against each other when you're sleeping. So I'm very used to that kind of small space but living outdoors environment. And I got my van built and converted, and luckily my boyfriend was able to help me with my broken elbow.
Thanks for listening to this preview of VFF's Vanlife podcast. You can listen to the full episode at vffsvanlife.com/podcast. Hope you enjoy it.
I've got to go outside.